Begin our Falls Township Board of Supervisors meeting, February 19th, right? Yeah. 2013. We'll start with the salute to the flag, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, Mrs. Pullen.
Mr. Galloway?
Here.
Mr. Snakes? Mr. Harvey?
Here.
Mr. Dents?
Here.
Mr. Rocco?
Here.
Okay, let the record show Mr. Snipes had a family commitment this evening, could not be here. We have a pretty short agenda. I actually want to begin, thank you, Mr. Gray. I want to begin with an announcement, and unfortunately over the past couple months it seems like we've started meetings with sad news, moments of silence and things like that. This is good news, so it's nice to start off the meeting in a good way. Ms. Jenna Russo, who is our Assistant Parks and Recreation Director, and her husband, Bob, have welcomed a little girl a couple weeks ago, right? Yes. I'm trying to think, about 10 days ago or something like that. Little Angelina. And so we congratulate Jenna and her husband on the birth of their first child, a daughter, and wish them the best of luck. And they probably haven't slept yet. So at some point they will get a chance to sleep, but not for a little while. So again, nice to start off with good news. Public comment. We have one name signed up, Mr. Dell. That's you.
How you guys doing? First question I have is near my house, South Hills Boulevard project's going to be starting very soon. Actually, they started doing some work to it. And I just want to find out, are there going to be like 3 separate pipes going underneath that road, or is it just going to be one hollowed out span of a bridge to allow all the water? Because basically when we get flooded down there, it's because of all the debris jams up in the holes. I can't remember if I asked this before or not, and I don't
remember if you asked that before. Well, I asked Mr. Sullivan what this situation is going to be.
It's a single arch culvert.
It's a single arch. Okay, terrific. And my other comment was going to be, since they started clearing out some of the vegetation and vines and scrap trees around there, it looks so much nicer, which sort of brought to mind that when you drive down New Falls Road and any of the roads on New Falls Tullytown Road, the backyards that back up to all these main highways, nobody seems to maintain them, or every 10th person seems to maintain them. Is there something we can do to, because right now it doesn't look so bad because there's no real vegetation growing, but once it gets green with the brambles and vines, and it looks awful. And I didn't know if there's some sort of program we could start to either incentivize the residents to get back there and clean it up, or if somehow our township can go in and start cleaning up I don't know if they're easements or if they're their property. I don't know.
Yeah, they probably aren't. It probably isn't the property owner's property. Typically there's some kind of a distance of an easement or right-of-way space that's really sort of PennDOT's, if not ours.
That's what I was going to ask you. Whose property is that?
Yeah, it's a good question. I guess it might even differ by road. I'd have to try and find out.
Okay. I mean, you're familiar. I mean, obviously, when you drive down all these, I mean, not to mention the yard clippings and everything else that go to the fence, but for the most part, it's just let loose vegetation, and it just grows year after year, and it starts encroaching on the road, and then again, people start walking around it and getting out into the road. So I just wanted to ask. I wasn't sure whose responsibility.
Yeah, we can take a look into it, and I know that obviously Mr. Arneo has a schedule that he usually puts together for a variety of things. I don't know if that's something he's looked at, or if it's even ours to do, if not PennDOT's. I'm not sure. We'll have to look and see. Obviously, Falls Tullytown's a state road, so that would depend on we'd have to look at that. So, but and since you mentioned, I know Mr. Sullivan's going to mention it, but since you brought it up, that road, the South Olds culvert, that road's going to be closed tomorrow.
Correct.
Starting tomorrow, and then it's going to be that way for about 6 weeks while they do work on that.
Okay. The other question I had was the Township Park, which I haven't been down there in a while. I was curious how the sod job turned out. Is it all done? Is that project finished?
The one field is done. Got done before the weather turned bad.
Okay.
The other field, if you're looking at the 2 fields, staying with the pavilion to the back of you, the field to the right, they never got a chance to sod because of the change in the weather. It was too wet, and they didn't want to put sod down, so that's something they're going to look to do mid-March, Mr. Sullivan?
Weather permitting, that is correct.
Is it opened up, or is it still old grass from the last time? Did they peel it up
Oh,
already?
It's peeled up. Yeah.
Okay.
it's peeled. And the other field, the sod is taken and is in good shape, right?
Yes, it is.
So that'll be ready for April or May when soccer starts?
We believe it will.
Okay. And I'd also mentioned, I forget who I mentioned it to, but sort of near Fallsington, when you're heading down Lower Morrisville Road, there's the Route 13 traffic pulls up there. There's a tree hanging there. I told Mr. Snipes about it, hanging by vines. That looks like if the vines let go, that tree is going to fall directly across Lower Morrisville Road. Looks fairly dangerous. I just thought I mentioned it after the meeting. I don't know if he had mentioned it to Joe or Nao, or if anyone went out and took a look at it, but
Yeah, I'm not sure. Mr. Gray, do you know if that got passed on to Mr. Arnao?
Not sure. I'll
Okay.
follow up with him in the morning.
It's a state road as well, but I don't know where
it sort of sits in
in
the grassy area where you would make your right on to get onto Route 13, between there and the next Route 13 exit.
Okay.
It sort of sits in the middle there, and it's close to the road, and it looks like the only thing holding it up are vines. If it lets go,
Right, it's been.
probably going to kill somebody. So just want to mention that to you.
All right. Yeah,
Thank you
we'll
very much.
somebody out look at. Thank you. Okay, it's the only name on the list. I suppose anybody else wishes to speak? All right, moving on. Item 2 is consider quotes for chlorine and muriatic acid service for the 2013 Pinewood Pool season. Mr. Gray?
The township received 3 quotes for chlorine and muriatic acid for use for the upcoming season at the Pinewood Pool. The quotes were Baradelli's for chlorine, $1.81 per gallon. Muriatic acid, $18 for 5 gallons. Buckman's, chlorine, $1.84 per gallon, and muriatic acid, $13.50 per 5 gallons. And Chemical Equipment Labs, $1.89 per gallon for chlorine, and $20 per 5 gallons for muriatic acid. In the years 2010, 11, and 12, the township averaged just over 5,100 gallons of chlorine and just over 175 gallons of muriatic acid purchased for each year. Based on the aggregate amounts purchased in prior years and the quotes secured for this year, Buckman's is the lowest quote provided. The board is asked to consider Buckman's for the purchase of chlorine and muriatic acid for the Pinewood Pool for 2013.
Okay. All right, so that was a question I had, was we're taking these sort of collectively, not individually.
Yes, that's correct.
Okay. All right, comments or questions from board members? Mr. Galloway?
No, it's pretty straightforward.
Mr. Dents?
None.
Mr. Rocco?
I have none.
Okay. Yeah, it seems pretty straightforward. I know Mr. Reese is here, but there's not much, I guess, to add to this this discussion in terms of chemicals. Okay, so we're looking then at Buckman's, accepting the bids from, or the quotes from Buckman's for the purchase of chlorine and muriatic acid according to the February 14th, 2013 memo for the year 2013 Pinewood Pool. Is there a motion to that effect?
So moved.
Seconded.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. All right, next item on our agenda is consider proposal from Rainbow Productions for rides and games for the Family Festival / Queue for the Troops. Mr. Gray?
Township received quotes for rides and games for the Family Festival Queue for the Troops. They are as follows. Rainbow Productions, $13,650. Pony Express, $13,200. And J Dogs, $7,148. The event will be held at the Falls Township Community Park on May 31st and June 1st, 2013. The township has used Rainbow Productions in the past for various other events in the township. Rainbow Productions will provide 10 rides and 13 games from 12 noon until 8:30 p.m. on Saturday, June 1st, 2013. The board is asked to consider Rainbow Productions for the rides and games at the Family Festival Queue for the Troops for the amount of $13,650. Also in attendance tonight is Mr. Reese, in case the board has any questions about this
Okay.
event.
All right, questions regarding this for either Mr. Gray or Mr. Reese? Mr. Galloway?
Just said it states that we have used Rainbow Productions before, and so you're confident. You like what they've provided.
Yes,
And you'd rather
Great.
go with them.
they're a great company. I mean, I can't say anything other than that about them. I mean, if we had some last second, things we had to come up with to try to fix things, whatever, they were like that. But I've never had a problem with them. They're phenomenal.
Thank you.
And the rides are safe, and, we knock on wood, but just never had a problem with them. I know they cost a little more, but my gosh, they're just a great company to work with. They're great with the people. They really do a great job.
Mr.
And if
Dennis?
they didn't, I would tell you. I definitely would.
Thanks.
No,
'Cause
they always do a good job whenever I've been at the family festival, so I have no comment.
Okay. Mr. Rocco?
I have no questions.
Okay. And obviously, if you heard Mr. Gray, the one bid came in, it's, about half of what these other bids are, which obviously raises some suspicion that maybe they didn't, they're not bidding the same, it's apples and oranges kind of stuff, and we don't necessarily know who this other company
Right.
or much about them. So, I think it's safer going with, especially considering that this is a family festival. We have a lot of people coming in, a lot of kids
Right.
and everything. It's safer to go with the people we know and the people we trust. So, okay, any public comment? See one hand. Just motion to open public comment, please.
So move.
All in favor? Aye. Opposed?
My question is about the limits of liability of insurance that this company carries. What are they providing us with as far as limit of liability insurance?
They all had to provide us with the same documentation and the same levels of insurance, didn't they? Like Ms.
The reason I'm
Gallagher.
asking is because the girl that got hit at that Pennsbury school, the school only had like $500,000 worth of coverage to spread across all those kids that got ran down by that bus, and then there was no one there to fall back on to sue. But being that it's a township event and you have kids involved with a ride, I just want to make sure that their limits of liability were sufficient enough in case someone got injured,
Right.
and we weren't held on the hook for that. And I didn't know what their limits were. And secondly, being that someone provides you with a certificate of insurance, and I'm not putting this company down, I don't even know them, but do we call and verify that the insurance is valid, other than the fact that they're showing us a piece of paper that's printed that says good between this date and this date for this insurance company? Because people can make up any form they want. Mr. Rocco could tell you, you can do anything with the computer. You can, there's a lot of people driving around with false insurance cards that just print them up and show them to the police, and no one ever really checks them. I just didn't know if we had a system in place that could, do we check on these insurance policies?
Let's, first things first, Ms. Gallagher, what do we know about the insurance that is provided, or proof of insurance is provided by these companies?
They will need to provide proof of general liability as well as all the appropriate insurance coverages pursuant to state law. I believe generally we require a minimum of $1 million coverage. Is that correct, Mr. Gray? When we contract with a company, so they will need to provide that proof of insurance before they come in and we allow them to operate. I don't believe we have a copy of that yet, but they will be required to provide that before we sign any contracts with them.
All right. And is that something we typically check, to make sure the insurance is valid, or we accept the certificate as it's presented to us?
Usually when we have special events, those type of things, they always provide us with this, and we do check the forms to make sure that they're in line
Okay.
and they're accurate.
All right.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Mr. Gray. Thank you, Ms. Gallagher. Any other questions? See no hands. Is there a motion to close public comment?
So moved.
Seconded.
Okay, all in favor? Aye. Opposed? All right, so we're looking at the advice of our staff to go with contract with Rainbow Productions for the rides for the Family Festival Queue for the Troops in the amount of $13,650. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Seconded.
Motion made and seconded. Mrs. Pullen?
Mr. Galloway?
Yes.
Mr. Harvey?
Yes.
Mr. Dents?
Yes.
Mr. Rocco?
Yes.
Okay, item 4 is to consider a change order, number 1, for the Falls Township Senior Center. Mr. Gray?
Yes, recently the township received a letter from Jim Sullivan and T&M Associates regarding change order number 1 for the Falls Township Senior Citizen Center addition. They are authorizing Craft Source of this change order for an increase of $17,232 to the original contract amount. This is to perform all work related to and required for the removal and disposal of an approximately 3,000-gallon underground fuel tank found below the new building addition. The board is asked to consider this change order at this time.
Okay. All right, Mr. Sullivan, want to let us know, I guess, what happened here? I know we've had some issues from the beginning locating, I guess, accurate documents and plans from this property from more than 3 decades ago. Is that what happened here?
Well, yes, that's very true. The senior center's been there for approximately 32 years. They never have used oil for any reason on the property. In excavating for the foundations for the new front vestibule, we came across a tank. It was in between two posts, so somebody knew it was there a long time ago when they originally built, I think, the original vestibule for the senior center, but not used as the senior center. In addition, the tank had a hole in it with a terracotta pipe, which means it was either transformed into a septic tank, but that didn't seem to be the case, or it was used for rain collection from the building. No one seemed to know that this tank existed. There were no physical signs on the surface, no fuel ports or anything like that on the tank. So we were very fortunate to find a tank when building the senior center. Had the contractor remove it properly. We had all the soil tested immediately. We paid a little bit extra to make sure the soil test came back right away. Nothing came above any even residential detectable limits. So there was a closure report prepared, sent to the Department of Health, to DEP, and everyone seemed satisfied that this tank was removed properly.
Okay. All right, thank you. Comments or questions for Mr. Sullivan? Mr. Galloway?
It just sounds like something we were fortunate to find it and unfortunate to find it. Right? Is that it?
We were fortunate and unfortunate at the same time. It turned out not to be an issue, so that was very fortunate.
Very good. Thank you.
All right. Mr. Dents?
No.
Mr. Rocco?
No.
Okay. All right, so obviously, you know, as anybody who's done any kind of work on their property knows, when you start tearing stuff up, you never know what you're going to find behind a wall or behind or underneath the ground. So yeah, I mean, it's bizarre. There's no record of this tank. Senior center's never used oil, and there was no oil in the tank, no oil outside the tank. So it's just apparently a tank they put in, maybe thinking one day they would use it for something, and they never did, and they just built over it, and nobody bothered to put on any kind of plan that it was there. So, we looking at a change order, $17,232 for Craft Source Incorporated for the removal of the tank.
Is that removing and disposing of it and everything else, I assume?
Yes. Removal, disposal, everything.
3,000 gallons.
That's a big tank.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So, okay. Any other public comment?
No.
Okay. Is there a motion then to pay the to approve the change order to Craft Source Incorporated, or I guess looking at the T&M member, what's Craft Source? A little bit of a typo there. Really, no, Mr. Sullivan's a Boston fan, but maybe he's
Yeah, that's the Boston pronunciation. Craft Source.
Boston pronunciation in there. Removal of the tank, $17,232.
So moved.
Seconded.
Okay, Mrs. Pullen?
Mr. Galloway?
Yes.
Mr. Harvey?
Yes.
Mr. Dents?
Yes.
Mr. Rocco?
Yes.
Okay, item 5 is to consider authorizing a request for proposals for concession services at the Falls Township Community Park. Mr. Gray or Ms. Gallagher, either one.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. What we've done is this is going to be an authorized for advertisement for requests for proposals for the township to issue a license for concession services at the Township Community Park for this period of May 1st, 2013 through September 30th, 2013. It's anticipated that the board will make a decision at one of the April meetings on their proposals. We're asking vendors to provide a proposal as to what types of items will be provided. We're looking for things such as standard ball field foods like hot dogs, hamburgers, french fries, coffees, teas, soda, no alcohol, no tobacco. And this will enable the township to control what company goes in, what types of items are being sold. And we're also asking for the proposals to include a payment schedule for the township, either via a standard monthly payment or a percentage of sales or a combination of both. The township will be able to select the most favorable proposal in the board's opinion from all the proposals that are collected.
Okay. All right, thank you. Yeah, there's been some discussion about this at the board level, about doing something like this. Ms. Gallagher put this together. Mr. Dents has been looking into this issue and brought this up. I think actually last year I brought this up. So let him speak a little bit about it.
Currently, there's no vending allowed at the township park. So we thought it would be a good idea, rather than just allow vending, to allow a vendor that we could choose or have some control over at a specific location, which would be at the boat ramp at the Township Park. Because when you're walking around the park, anybody that goes down there knows when it's hot in the middle of the summer, whether you're, I guess, at the skate park or wherever, it'd be nice to be able to get something to drink.
Correct, and this will also allow the township to collect the appropriate criminal background checks and child abuse clearance checks
Right.
for anyone that's going to be working for any of the given, for the vendor that's selected.
Okay. So that's where this all came from.
Okay. All right, and this again would be just authorizing request for proposals, so this would go out, any vendors that are interested would respond to this request, and then, as Ms. Gallagher said, over the next 6 weeks or so, or whatever, a month and a half, or so, about a month or so, we'll be gathering in these proposals, and then the board will make a decision about, you know, who to go with. This would restrict the vendor to only operating on the lakeside, okay, of the township park. They would not be able to sort of come over the other side, and the reason for that is because we do have different organizations that use the sports side of the park, and so this would, we don't want to sort of cut into what Fall Soccer Club is making in terms of selling stuff from the pavilion on Phase 1. But as you know, if you've been down in the park, you could be standing at Phase 1 and you wouldn't even see where this thing is. Physically, you can't even see that area. And so they do almost operate like two totally separate sides, or two different parks in many ways. So we thought it was a good idea. I think board members all had a chance to take a look at this proposal or the draft of this, and make some, you know, ask questions, make some suggestions, et cetera. But I'll open up for any public comment that's needed. See no hands? Okay. Is there a motion then?
I have one comment.
Go ahead.
On page 4, it says that we're going to provide utilities. I'm not sure that there's public water at the location that we're talking about. I mean, there's public water over at the pavilion that they can get,
Right.
but we're not providing public water. There is electricity where we're talking about, but not water.
Right.
You might want to correct that, because that's a big deal with the Department of Health.
And is there also a connection for someone that wants to do like a credit card? Is there a phone jack system or
There's
something?
no phones at that location.
No.
There may be wireless internet.
Maybe we get wireless internet.
Yeah, okay. So something else to think about maybe. Okay. So, all right, that's a good pickup though, Mr. Dents, thank you. Any other comments or questions from board members? Sorry, I skipped that part. Mr. Rocco?
No, I'm good, thank you.
Mr. Galloway?
None.
Okay.
Oh, I'm sorry, I did.
Yeah.
So if we award a vendor and we don't like them, or we're not happy with their services, how quickly can we get rid of them?
We can revoke the license,
Yeah, it's on the bottom of page 4.
thank you. 10 calendar days notice.
Okay.
So if we give, if we're unsatisfied with the service, we can give them notice and they have to pull out within 10 days.
Okay, thank you.
And obviously, any vendor would have to meet all the regular requirements for insurance and health codes, and as Ms. Gallagher talked about, it also allows us to do background checks on you know, criminal background checks on anybody who might be working with that, I'm assuming vehicle, someone's going to pull up and, you know, have some kind of truck or something there.
Yeah, and you're not allowed to sublet too, I noticed there.
Correct, right. You're not allowed to, you know, sub it out and just, you know, let somebody else come in under your license, so.
We learned a lot from our towers.
We did.
Any other board comment? No? Okay. Is there a motion then to authorize the request for proposals for the concession services at the Township Park?
I'll make the motion.
Second.
Okay, motion made and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right, engineers report. It's item number 6. Mr. Sullivan, turn to you to give us some highlights here.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. 2012 road program continues to move along nicely. The weather hasn't been too bad, so storm sewer installation continues on Lyons Drive, Hedgerow Drive, and Hilltop Drive. And again, there will be no actual roadway construction or curb and sidewalk done until the weather is consistently above freezing. So we're probably talking somewhere from mid-March on. The senior center, all the walls are now up now that the underground storage tank has been removed. The windows are not in place. They are scheduled to be delivered, I think, early next week. The windows and doors go in, but in the meantime, interior plumbing and electrical work is continuing. Soccer fields, as we mentioned, has the same status. Smaller field has been sodded and seems to be ready for play. Larger field will be sodded as soon as the weather permits. And the other thing I want to talk about was the culvert. We already mentioned that as well, but as of tomorrow, the road will be closed until the project is complete, which we anticipate to be about 6 weeks.
How about the road program? You did, I'm sorry. I was busy reading.
The 2012 road program continues to move along nicely. Storm sewer installation, for the most part, roadway construction will start sometime mid to late March.
Thank you.
And I hesitate to say this, but I'm going to do it anyway. The senior center is on target for completion by August 1st, 2013, this year. So it's been in my report a couple of times, but this is the first time I think I've said it publicly.
Okay, we'll hold you to that.
I know.
All right, any questions for Mr. Sullivan? Mr. Galloway?
None.
Mr. Dents?
No.
Mr. Rocco?
Yeah, I just have one. Last month, I asked about Fallsington and the water mains that have been replaced and when the roads themselves were going to be done. I think you indicated after they settle, so sometime in May.
Hopefully before that, but
Okay.
yeah, first of all, the project has to be completed, and I think it's close to completion. I'm not sure that it's actually been finished. We need the trenches to settle for at least 30 days, and we're really not going to be paving until sometime mid-April anyway, so that's when we figure hopefully we'll start by then.
And does that include Lower Marsville Road where they had to go down about a quarter mile?
Yeah, it's a state road.
No, that's, yeah.
So what's the plan for that road? Because
Yeah, it's
after it
rough.
settles, yeah, it's rough, right, to say the least.
Well,
Exactly.
Yeah, I mean, the trench will have to be monitored for any kind of settlement, and the contractor will be required to fix that settlement. I don't know if there's a $500,000 overlay provision in their contract, but there may be. That's something we can check on and get back to you.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. Okay.
That's all I had. Thanks.
I think the senior center also had, did I see the HVAC units are on top there? The air handlers
Yes,
are on?
they've been installed on the roof.
Okay. Yeah, I thought I saw that today when I went by. All right. Yeah, so it does look, again, knock wood, it looks like it's going along very nicely. The weather's been favorable so far, so all good news. And I think any other, everybody else is good? Okay. All right, is there a one individual wishes to make some public comments or motion?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
I had one question about the proximity of that building to the road. I didn't know if we're going to put up any sort of barrier, bollards, something. I know it hasn't happened yet. A car hasn't gone through the senior center yet, but it's close enough to the intersection where if someone got T-boned or veered off the road there, it could theoretically go through that building. I didn't know if there's any guardrail planned or any sort of concrete posts or anything in the ground or some sort of landscaping that was going to prevent any possible future carnage going through that place. I mean, not the, but it's close enough to the road that anything there could happen.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's always been relatively close.
Yes.
Saying. So we don't really have anything planned, and I don't know. They're both state roads in both directions, aren't they? So
Yes, they're both state roads. We don't have anything planned there. We will have a guide rail at the detention basin at the entrance, but
Okay, but not on the Trenton Road
Correct.
side. Yeah, that's why I was just curious if there's anything in the plans to put something in there. I wasn't sure or not. Okay.
not at this time.
All right, thanks.
Okay, motion to close public comment?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right, engineers report. Is there a motion to accept the engineers report? This is the January 2013 engineering report, dated February 15th, 2013.
So moved.
Seconded.
All in favor? Aye. Opposed? All right, bill list for February 19th, 2013. The bills are in the amount of $2,812,574.95. Of that, $2.8 million, looking at about 1.6, which is payroll and health insurance. And then in addition to that, obviously, a lot of the projects we're talking about here, road program as well as the senior center make up the bulk of that. Also workman's compensation insurance is about almost $100,000. So, comments or questions, the road program, $670,000. Comments or questions for Mr. Gray regarding the bill list? Mr. Galloway?
No questions.
All right, Mr. Dents?
None.
Mr. Rocco?
I have none.
Okay. Is there a motion then to approve the payment of the bills for February 19th, 2013, the amount of $2,812,574.95?
So, second?
Mrs. Pullen?
Mr. Galloway?
Yes.
Mr. Harvey?
Yes.
Mr. Dent?
Yes.
Mr. Rocco?
Yes.
Okay. All right, executive session, we do have a couple issues for executive session this evening, so we're going to adjourn briefly here, and we'll come back. After our executive session, Ms. Gallagher, can we have a summary of the executive session, please?
Sure, Mr. Chairman. We discussed a personnel matter and a matter of litigation.
Okay, thank you. Manager comment, Mr. Gray, you're up.
Yes, just two items tonight. Township received an email request from Ralph Funk, president of Levittown American. The request is for $6,000. This is a similar request that we received from Levittown Continental and the Fairless Hills Athletic Association. Also, this funding for the donation was included in the 2013 budget. The board is asked to consider this donation to Levittown American.
Okay, any comments or questions?
No.
Okay. All right, is there a motion then to approve the $6,000 donation to Levittown American?
So moved?
Second.
Mrs. Pullen?
Mr. Galloway?
Yes.
Mr. Harvey?
Yes.
Mr. Dent?
Yes.
Mr. Rocco?
Yes.
Township also received a letter dated February 7th from Robert Harmon, president of Historic Fallsington. They are requesting a donation for their Historic Fallsington Day to be held October 12th, 2013. Township has given $6,000 out in past years. This amount was included in the 2013 budget. The board is asked to consider this donation at this time.
Okay, and I see in the letter he's asking for a very specific $5,760. That's what and they've supplied a budget, as Mr. Gray said, outlining how they get to $5,760. In the past, as Mr. Gray said, we've usually given $6,000, as we have to other things like the Memorial Day Parade, St. Patty's Day Parade, et cetera. So I guess it's up to the board if we want to give the $6 or just give the $5,760. I think, giving the $6 just seems...
Just give the $6.
logical. Okay. So comments or questions regarding that?
No.
No.
All right, is there a motion then?
So moved?
Second.
Okay, Mrs. Pullen?
Mr. Galloway?
Yes.
Mr. Harvey?
Yes.
Mr. Dent?
Yes.
Mr. Rocco?
Yes.
That's all I have. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Okay. All right. Up to board comment. Let's see here. I'll go first, I guess. I don't usually go first. It doesn't matter. A few things first. Want to let people know, back after Hurricane Sandy, the township made the decision to allow people who were going to put in for permits to repair work on their, or damage on their homes, on their properties, because businesses could apply as well. Damage on their properties, we would waive basically the permit fees for that as a way of offering some assistance to people that were going through that. For administrative reasons, we tried to put a timeline on that because we couldn't necessarily have these coming in forever and ever, and we want to extend that timeline to basically March 15th. Now, this doesn't mean you have to have the work done, doesn't mean you even have to have the work started, but before March 15th, you have to notify the township that you're planning to do work to fix damage from Hurricane Sandy. It'll allow our inspectors to go out just to see, what exactly the damage is. Of course, unfortunately, there might be some people out there that would just, decide to replace their bathroom and blame it on Hurricane Sandy and try to look for free permits, so we don't obviously want that. We do recognize the fact that there are insurance companies that are struggling right now to keep up with all of the claims that they are receiving. So there are people that probably hoped to have work done by now, but haven't because they haven't gotten insurance money. And so they're probably waiting to pull a permit or even notify the township that they want to pull a permit because they haven't gotten any money in from the insurance company yet. This would allow you to just, you can come in, you can let us know you're going to do work. We can waive the permit fee. That way, if it takes 6 months, God forbid, for the insurance company to actually give you the money, you don't have to worry, the permit's already waived. But you've sort of basically just registering, saying, look, I had the situation, my roof, my gutters, something, sidewalk, something got ripped up. I need to, file a permit. Eventually, I'm going to do this work once I get the money, and we'll put it on file. So when you eventually do come in to pull the permit, we already have it on file. Okay, we have a record of it. So, but March 15th is kind of the latest date that we can do that. So if you were going to be doing any of that kind of work, you need to come in sometime between now and March 15th, so that we can keep that record. And again, we sympathize with the people that are struggling to get all this done. Obviously it's out of our control. Insurance companies, this is sort of their worst nightmare, having all this stuff happen at once. So, and questions or comments regarding that obviously you can contact the township. If you're not sure, you can come in or call code enforcement and ask them, and they can give you some assistance with that. Okay. The other issue, I guess, we have a lot of openings on different boards and commissions here in the township, and I don't know if people, obviously with some cases with the economy, people are sort of stressed out in terms of doing different things to try and make ends meet, and they don't have as much time to donate to things like the township, different boards and commissions. But just so people know, the boards and commissions we have here, the majority of them meet once a month. Some of them meet less than that. Typically their meetings are half an hour or an hour. They provide different kinds of guidance and information to us and to administration on helping to make this community even better. We have a wide variety of boards and commissions that people can serve on. Most of them have openings. Some of them have several openings. And so take a look at the township website. I don't want to start running through them all now because they'll sort of blur together. But take a look at the township website, and there is, I think, even a drop-down button you can take a look at that has all boards and commissions. I think we also run the vacancies on the cable channel too, don't we?
Yes.
So you don't have to have any kind of special training. You don't need any certain background. We're just looking for people that want to make the township better, and who are willing to donate a little bit of time, once in a while. A lot of very, very good people on these boards, that want to help out. And we do have an email that we received, actually it was last month, from Mr. Tom Stafford, who is a longtime volunteer here. He's on the Disabled Persons Advisory Board. He's back on that board now. He was on the zoning board for a while, and he's actually asked to be appointed to a vacancy on the Cable Advisory Board, which helps the township deal with different issues, whether it's Comcast or Verizon. It's somewhere where residents can come and they can, kind of voice their complaints about different issues, and allows us to have some direct contact with those companies when they come in and do work. So he does have a background in electronics, and as I said, he's a long-time volunteer in a lot of our boards. So I'd like to appoint or make a motion to appoint Mr. Stafford to one of the vacancies on the Cable Advisory Board. I'll say the one that has the longest time left. I think there's a couple vacancies right now. Anybody wish to second that motion?
I'll second that motion.
Okay. All right. So, motion made and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. And again, I guess congratulations again to Ms. Russo and her husband on the birth of Angelina, their daughter. And those are all the things I have this evening. So, let's see who's next here. Mr. Galloway?
No comment this evening.
Okay. Mr. Dents?
We've had some talk tonight about the Family Festival and this year's Queue for the Troops. This would have been the third year that we held this Queue for the Troops, which is a barbecue cook-off competition. All the proceeds benefit the Liberty USO. When we first started 3 years ago, we hoped sometime soon that we wouldn't need to worry about troops overseas, but we still do. And it's a great event, and we decided this year to incorporate it with the Falls Family Festival. This year, it's being sanctioned by the Kansas City Barbecue Society. It'll be a 2-day event, Friday night and Saturday all day at the Township Park at the same time as the Falls Family Festival. So I just thought I would mention that now since we're already talking about it. And that's all I have tonight.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Rocco?
I have no comment. Thank you.
Okay, very well. All right, thank board members for a very smooth meeting, and our member of the public who spoke up on a couple issues. Okay, and to carry a heavy load, there's a couple of people that couple of the usual suspects aren't here this evening, so you had to carry the whole load. I thank our staff and also the professionals here this evening for all the work they do. Is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.